So it was found out that those people who take time to actually visit Zimbabwe, be it for holiday or to see family or do some meaningful work like projects or even internships, those people, they face less challenges in transitioning back home later on in life, be it after having some work experience abroad and now they want to settle back home for work, or maybe they've been abroad and now they want to do something in Zimbabwe like community development work or even various other projects as we adult. So this program is really, its mission, as it says on this, it's an experiential service learning program. That means it's an unpaid internship, and we have universities actually support this program to help people transition well back home. So you'll find that at different universities, there are different scholarships and funding opportunities available to help students get that opportunity to go back to their home country, make professional connections, expand their network, and also do something in their home country for work, learn how it is working in their home country, learn how people are being successful in their home country, and also what people are doing so that it's easier whenever you would want to come back for a longer time, like transitioning back home. So we work with students from various universities, the US, Canada, Ashesi University, and other universities, USIU included also. So we seek to really contextualize the students' academic experience. And what do we mean by this is you find out, and even if you're going to hear from other alumni from the program who are joining us, I know there's Tinashe Kanukai, and there's also Tinashe Mutasa. One is studying in the US and one is studying, is an alumni of Ashesi University. So just hearing from one who was studying in an African university and another in a US university, just to see how this internship was really beneficial. So I said it seeks to contextualize the students' academic experience. That is, you get to actually, when you're interning, rotate in the different departments of an organization, such that when you're majoring, for example, in computer science, you will know that when you're working for an organization, it's not going to be just computer science. There are different departments that are involved. There's finance department, there's human resource department, there's the research department, etc. So just that knowledge, I think it prepares students to just look past computer science. It's just that program, just focusing on just computer science, but it opens up your mind. Maybe you would want to venture into managerial positions, etc. You'd want to be able to know that information, like how does it work in the human resources? How does it work in other departments? Although you're focusing on computer science. Yes. So the whole vision is really to assist Zimbabwean students studying internationally to make those meaningful connections. Yes. So I hope we understand the mission, the vision, the goals, how this program came about, etc. So I'll move to the next slide. So there's a strategy we use when we are recruiting interns. So it's a really formal structure. We have applications open sometime in October. We have people apply. We have 2 deadlines, the November 15 deadline for round 1. And the first deadline is really, we encourage students to take advantage of this because it gives the program more time to match you with host organizations, make calls with the students to understand their field of interest, make calls with the host organization also to see if there's a match. And there's also time to negotiate and even change placement depending on what the student actually wants to learn. There's also an opportunity for the program to write funding letters, like support letters, to help you guys as you're applying for funding letters, to help fund the air ticket and also the program administration costs, which is like $200 per each student. And this helps us run the program, and I'll talk about this later. Yeah, so we usually have, and this is from 2024, we had 31 applications. This is just for students who are studying everywhere else except USIU. And this is because USIU has a different internship start and end date. For other universities, it's usually June, July, and August. Interns will be interning in within these 3 months. And then for USIU, it's September, October, November. So we have like two cohorts, which is something that started this year, and we're trying to accommodate everyone just so we make sure that Zimbabweans, all students are accommodated and they are prepared well to have that smooth transition back home. Yes. So we have students apply. We go through a selection process. So we actually work as a team. It's not just the program coordinator who is admitting people into the program, but I also work with the director of education matters. So we have, as you can see on this, there's like Mesh Betty, Mesh Amai, which is my mano. I call her Amai because I'm an alumni of one of the programs used up here from class of 2018. So yes. So I input my ideas, and you can see the Mesh Amai column. She inputs her own ideas as we go through the applications to see which is which. And this helps us decide if we need to have a call with a student, and if we are to have a call, what are we going to be talking about, etc. And then we also use this to match students to the potential placement. This would be like the beginning stage for us to actually begin calls with students and also with organizations to see if it's a good match. Yes. Let's see if we can move to the next slide. Okay, so I know I've talked about a lot of things for now. I talked about the mission, the goals, the vision. I talked about the kind of students we select from every Zimbabwean studying abroad in their second or third year. Yes, and then I talked about the selection and matching criteria, which is a process which usually takes us about 2 to 3 months. Yeah, to really be solid that we are done with the process. So having talked about this, we have a little exercise which I hope a few of us could engage. And it's a question, and you can just raise your hand. Yeah. So we have an exercise here, which is, can you share an experience, your experience as someone who was abroad and has returned to Zimbabwe? An experience of someone you know who has studied abroad and returned to Zimbabwe. From your observation, how did they navigate their career, projects, or entrepreneurial life? Do you think it's important for programs like this to exist, which help people transition well back home? Like just from your observations of people who have studied abroad and are back, do they face challenges? Do we need this kind of program? Yeah, so you guys are welcome to share your ideas. Let me see if I can stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys. Okay, do we have some hands up? Anyone would like to share? Okay, so I'm going to pick on someone. Tatenda Kasitomo, do you have an experience that you'd want to share?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you.
For me, I don't have anyone who I know who has studied abroad and they have come back home to pursue their career, so I really don't have any information to share. But for me, I think the other part of your question, which is like, do you think this program is useful? I can say yes, it's useful in the sense that for right now, like I'm learning in India, and after graduation, I'll go back home, and in most cases, I won't know any prospective companies to apply to. So if I get an opportunity to be part of ZCC, that would be a good advantage to me, because once I graduate, I will have a network of people who might assist me in prospective companies to apply to once I'm back home. So yes.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else would like to share? If no, I could ask ZCC alumni just to share. Tinashe Mutasa, would you like to share?
Hi, thank you, Betty. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. My name is Tinashe Mtasa. ZCC alum class of 2024, YESAP alum class of 21. I think ZCC is a good program in the sense that before we leave home and go and study abroad, we really don't know anything about how the work in Zim happens, because based on where we grew up in, we're exposed to different kinds of things. And then when you go to school, you sort of learn the kind of careers that you want to pursue. And then when you look back home, it's like, are those opportunities that I'm looking for really there in Zim? And sort of it's easy to say no, they do not exist. So you sort of find those reasons to say, okay, there's no reason for me to go back home. You start piling up excuses and excuses. Say, okay, I'm not going to go back home once I finish graduating. But then when you get to do ZCC, that sort of gives you an exposure to how people in Zim actually do certain things that you're interested in. Could it be in medicine? If you're part of ZCC, you get to see other things that you wouldn't necessarily see when you just go back home to see your family. When you're interested in CS, or maybe you're interested in business or finance, especially for people who are interested in business and finance, it's really hard to see yourself doing anything of such nature in Zim, because every time and then you're thinking, okay, how is the politics in Zim going to affect businesses if I am to start one, and things like that. But then when you get to do ZCC, that's when you actually see, yeah, there's politics involved, but there's also people actually making it work in such situations. And I think that's one of the reasons why ZCC is really good for people. And I would encourage everyone who wants to do something meaningful when they go back home after graduating, say, okay, it's a good opportunity for you to start building your network. It's a good opportunity for you to start actually exploring and identifying what kind of opportunities are out there in them and apply. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tinashe, for that. Just a follow-up, since you're actually an alumni, and just to everyone, I'm also an alumni of ZCC class of 2017, and I attended First Mutual Holdings Limited. Yes. So Tinashe, when you were explaining, actually I have a follow-up question, and yeah, everybody's just going to get an opportunity to ask questions at the end also. How are you carrying your ZCC experience back in school?
I think it also in some way reframed the way I was looking at the classes that I was taking, because before then I'm a math major, right? But also math on its own, there's a limited pool of things that you can do. But then having to do ZCC and actually having to do a hands-on experience with the kind of math that I was learning, implementing math, could it be in a business sense or could it be in a finance sense? It also helped me shape the kind of classes that I was taking. So, okay, I think I need to deepen my understanding in finance. I think I need to deepen my understanding in accounting. So because of that experience, I started taking more economics and financial accounting classes. And also it gives you an experience such that when you're talking about certain things, um, you you find that when you get some form of an internship or a job in the US, and when you get it via this SCC program, the people, I was fortunate enough to be working for a company where people trusted me to do all kinds of work. So I would be doing certain kind of things that people would not normally do when they go for an internship in the US. You probably be doing um, not menial work, but work that's just maybe that wouldn't give you much of an experience as far as your learning is concerned. So I was fortunate in that regard. So the people I was working with, they trusted me to do certain projects that even they were beyond me. They still trusted me to do them. They still trusted me to learn on those things. So it's an experience that when you are now talking about things that you know, or maybe you're explaining to someone, or maybe now you're applying to internships for the coming summer, you can actually talk to the things that you have been able to do, and it's an experience that gives you an edge when you're applying to internships as well.
Thank you so much, Tinashe, for explaining and sharing that. Yes, I think we get that a lot from ZCC alumni, the comment on how the internship experience has impacted the class choices they select when they go back to school, and how, you know, what's unique about the internship experience here in Zimbabwe, and I think also in Africa, is just how you rotate in the different departments. Very different from if you are a data scientist, you're just dealing with data, but then you actually get to rotate in the different departments of the company, which is not just preparing you for employment, like just being employed by a company, but it's preparing you to think outside the box to say, okay, what if I'm to open my own company one day? What if I'm to manage people? What do I have to look at? What do I need to know about human resources? What do I need to know about finance, even though I'm a data scientist, etc.? So I think that's something that's really a competitive advantage of an internship with ZCC. And it's actually real work, which is very different from other internships, at least I can speak for in Zimbabwe, where interns are asked to, like, you know, can you get my bag from the car? Can you make me some tea? But with ZCC, they know we mean real work. Yes. So okay, I'll go back to sharing my screen again. With the presentation. Just give me a second. Thank you so much, Tinashe, for sharing those views.
Thank you as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think because of our time, we're just going to move forward. So I talked about the strategy of applications. We talked about the selection, the matching. Yes. So the program structure is designed in this way. Applications open in October, close in November and January. Selection is done in a month or 2 months. Host communication in matching is done January and February. In March, we have a ZCC interns Zoom e-meet. So all the interns for that year get to meet on a Zoom call. That is for both cohorts, the June, July, August cohort, and then the September, October, November cohort. And then mid-May, we have a ZCC host session meeting, which is we actually invite those organizations that host our interns for an information session and networking session. So we have companies bring their banners. That's where we get an opportunity to describe the ZCC program, what we expect from companies, so that when interns, before interns go to intern, they already have their workflow structure, like what they'll be working on each and every week, and it's flexible. Interns get a chance to actually negotiate that structure to say, oh, would it be possible for me to learn something from the research department or from the advisory section, or if it's in healthcare, public health, or can I shadow, etc. So, and then on June 1, or a little before June 1, which is the last week before the beginning of June, we usually have a ZCC interns onboarding meeting. And this is for the June, July, August cohort. And then we have June, July, August cohort begin their internships, and then they usually have different start times and different end times depending on the school calendars. But we have most of our interns begin on 1 June and they end on 31 July. We also have some schools which require interns to do 3 months internships, so we usually have some people extend their internships. And then for the September, October, November, because that second cohort is pretty new. It started this year. This year we only had like 4 students. 1 is actually done and 3 more are still doing their internships. So we usually have a small group for the second cohort, but our bigger group is usually the June, July, August cohorts. So that's the program structure. There's also a whole lot of things that are involved. This is just from the surface. And I can add more details of what happens when interns are actually interning. We usually have, it's a must, interns have to attend a Friday ZCC session, which is from 2 to 4. In these ZCC sessions, we invite distinguished speakers to speak on various topics. I think my favorite so far has been in-person and online networking. Like how do you maintain those relationships? And I think my greatest takeaway point was be interesting, always be interesting. People want to always engage with people that are always doing something interesting and something meaningful. We also have an educational trip, which is, as a group, we choose where we want to go. It's an educational plus fun trip, which means it has to have a combination of two. And this year, we did go to Kwateri. I don't know if you guys know the famous Kwateri. He's a young guy who owns Kwateri in the village, but it's an interesting idea. If you do not know about him, I encourage you guys to look him up. Someone who grew up from Zimbabwe, has attended university in Zimbabwe, but he has somehow managed to make those international connections. Which is really impressive. So we have that. Then we also have a college fair. So as you apply to the ZCC internship program, we also encourage ZCC interns to do some kind of like give back to your schools. That is like doing the college fair, where last year we did go to USAP Community School, one of Education Matters School in Marondera Day, and then we had a college fair. Yes, we did have some feedback from students from interns to say, oh, can we invite other students from other schools? And it's a work in progress. To make it just interesting and beneficial to as many people as possible. Yes, and during those sessions, we always make sure there's refreshments, because we know you guys would have been at work from morning to around 12, and then you have to be at internship sites from at Education Matters from 2 to 4. So we just make sure that that program administration fee covers all the refreshments from 2 to 4 every Friday. It covers the educational trip, transport, that is fuel, car hire, etc., and the food that's involved. It covers even getting speakers to come and speak to us. It covers the ZCC host information session, where we invite hosts organizations to come. It's an opportunity for them to network, get to know each other, and also get to know the work that they are doing, the impact that they are making, having a student abroad intern at their company. And we also have, it also covers the ZCC graduation ceremony, where we usually have your supervisor and a +1, again, from that host company to come and attend your graduation. So all those expenses that are involved is the minimum that we could charge, just to make sure that we still do meaningful work and we are still able to run the program in a meaningful way, really making impact, and having everything go well. So yes, selection criteria, definitely Zimbabwean students, top performing students. It's not just about grades, we look at various things, but we try to be as accommodative as possible. When people apply, we really want to be a first choice for people. We don't want to be their second choice. So we are really wanting to work with students who really know why they want to apply, who really understand the competitive advantage of being of having that ZCC internship experience. Second, you have to be in your second or third year in university. We have an exception to USAP Community School students. Yes, USAP is a program of Education Matters. We recruit students who are highly academic, highly academically talented, have ethos of giving back to the community, are involved in the community, but they have a financial challenge sending themselves to school, or their family sending them to school. So they come from different parts of the country, which is from 10 provinces of Zimbabwe. And because most of our internships are based in Harare, and you can imagine someone coming from Binga, it makes sense for us as ZCC to include them in this program, because they would want also to have that experience of how is it working in a city like Harare, etc. So that's why we give an exception to sub-community school students to apply to the program, because there will be some of them who are studying at universities in Zimbabwe, and they can apply to the program. But all other Zimbabwean students have to be students studying abroad. Yes. So looking into the future, we really hope as we get feedback from people, from ZCC alumni, we would really love to make an impact on the easy transition back home. Yes, making sure that ZCC, the experience is really preparing people well, in terms of that professional network, in terms of just knowing how it is living in Zimbabwe, understanding the culture, the economic culture, understanding the different parts of Zimbabwe, because we know when people come back, they're not just coming back for work. Most probably people are also looking into, we are adulting. We're looking into real estate, we're looking into entrepreneurship, we're looking into various other things. So just getting that know-how of how are people really making it in Zimbabwe. And also just that work experience and exposure to people who are working in Zimbabwe, just to understand, okay, after paying all the bills, what's really remaining in the pocket? Is it really worth it? Etc. Because I know with having been outside, you may have the experience of being outside, knowing, okay, if I pay all my bills, I'm remaining with this. But you won't know unless you actually live in Zimbabwe to actually say, okay, if I'm to work here in Zimbabwe, how much am I actually to save? So that you make an informed decision. Okay, if I want to live a life of impact, where can I make change in Zimbabwe? You would basically not know where to give back, where to involve yourself, in community development, because unless you have lived in that place enough to know, okay, what are the challenges being faced, etc. So also looking into the future, that is gaining reward experience. I think Tinashe really touched on this. Having this experience impact your class choices, impact what you do when you go back to school. It really had an impact on me. I found myself after my ZCC internship, because my major was international business, I found myself needing to have that international relations skill, learning how different countries are operating economically, the political atmosphere, which are the big fives, etc. Learning how to engage in people in a new crowd. How do I strike out conversations? How do I nurture relationships, etc. And just developing your soft skills as a person. Because in the end, I mean, skill does keep us in jobs, but a lot of soft skills, technical skills do keep us in jobs, but soft skills also work. Just being a good team player, etc. Having that intercultural communication skills, etc. Expansion of professional network. If you want to look into what area, whatever field, whatever community development work, whatever project, having that expanded network to know whom to contact. I think I've witnessed a few people who come back, they know that professional network, they don't have that network. And when they come back, they just sit at home, they don't know whom to contact, they don't know whom to interact with, etc. So it really helps in that way as well. And then I'm also hoping for less challenges in the transition process. Yes, there's a lot that changes in Zimbabwe, the social atmosphere, the social culture, the economic culture, just learning how to navigate those processes. What's most pressing in terms of, maybe, for example, what are the most scam issues that people are facing in Zimbabwe, so that you don't fall into that trap. Because people have the tendency to really notice, oh, this is someone who has not been in Zimbabwe for quite a while. And, people tend to take advantage. But if you have that experience of knowing how is the social setting, etc., the same way we do when we go abroad, you want to know what's really going on so that you don't fall into the trap, etc. All right. So I'm about to finish my presentation. And on this last picture, I have some host organizations from 2024. These are examples of the companies we work with. There's IH group. It's a securities group, finance and security group. We have friendship bench. They deal with social work. Ecosurgica, that's health. Econet Wireless, it's mostly known computer science, finance, etc. Africara Arts Trust, dance, and just the body anatomy, liquid intelligence technologies. I think most of us know about this one. Networks, and there's various other departments involved. ASCON Africa, that's engineering. Uncommon.org, computer science. Community development. Imagination Africa, that's entrepreneurship. Netro Electronics. This Netro Electronics is actually a company. It's still a startup which was started by one of the ZCC interns. One of the ZCC alumni actually started this organization. Yes. So these are just a couple organizations. And like I said, when you hear of Econet, people are thinking computer science, but there's more involved. There's the HR department, there's the data protection, there's a whole lot of things. So with these internship sites, you actually get to rotate in the different departments. Like, okay, if I'm to own a health center one day, there are different departments that are involved. What do I need to know? I need to know this, this, and that. And it also helps to just open up your mind. Look, okay, if I go back, what other skills would I want to learn as I prepare for my life? Just to make sure that I live that life of impact, a meaningful life, which is more than just a paycheck. So this ends my presentation. And I am now inviting us all to questions, and I'll stop sharing my screen now. Okay. So any questions? We have about 15 minutes. Okay, there's 3 messages in the group chat. Let's see. Okay, this is from Tinashe. Oh, thank you so much, Tinashe. Yes, you had alerted me you would be here for about 30 minutes. But thank you so much for your contribution. We have a message here from Melissa Msantika. Hi, Melissa. It says, hello, Miss Betty and Mai. How can ZCC help students who are studying natural sciences and they have no idea to work in corporate? The students who have aspirations to go to graduate school, is the program useful to those students? Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, Melissa, for that question. Is the program helpful to students who want to go to graduate school? Melissa, if I may just ask a follow-up before I get to your question, just to make sure that I'm answering correctly. Do you mean just going to graduate school first before work experience, like from undergraduate straight to graduate school? And is your question, is this program useful for this kind of students?
Hello, Miss Betty.
Hi, Melissa.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. In the case that I do my research in my 4th year, there is a possibility that I would want to apply directly to graduate school. So yes, yeah, coming from undergraduate to graduate school directly.
Okay.
Without work experience.
Without work experience. Okay, thank you so much for your question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, before you answer. So there is a possibility. I've been working in labs the past summer, and also I intend to work in the lab this incoming summer, whether at my school or any place I get to be. So if I have research experience, yes, I would want to go to graduate school directly. I just thought you would want that information too.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
All right, thank you so much for your question, Melissa. Just from my perspective, I do think it depends, but I do feel it's beneficial because when people apply to graduate school, you are choosing a certain concentration, right? Or maybe an area to focus. And I know you get to write a thesis or maybe do a research about something. So I do feel like for most people, they do find education more interesting and fun when they engage in something they understand and something they have a connection to. Yeah, so definitely I do see it as an addition. Like, even though you won't be great, you do ZCC and not go straight into work experience, but that's ZCC experience because of the structure of the program. It's more or less work experience because you actually get to do the real work, which I feel like it will influence even your choices for the graduate program you would apply to, or even what you choose to focus on or do research on. And just even understanding the prominent problems that are in your field that you should focus on. Let me see if I've answered the whole question. Yes, and I think it's really eye-opening also just to be exposed to where lab experience here in Zimbabwe. Yeah, because I feel like with this stereotype, so people may think, oh, there are no labs in Zimbabwe or something like that. But just having an experience to work in the lab and see the actual work that's being done in Zimbabwe could actually be very, very impactful, and it can even help make your graduate application much stronger. Yes, and I've seen that my manual has also put here a response to that. So do we have any more questions? Let me see. We have another one from Rachel. Can I get an internship in Kwekwe, or they are all in Harare? So currently all the internships are based in Harare. We do have some internship sites which you get an internship placement in Harare, but you also do field work like in different parts of the country. So it will be part of the program to make such calls and make sure that we match you to the right placement. And then on that as well, for some students who would want help looking for accommodation, we have a database of where previous interns have stayed, like accommodation somewhere close to their internship sites. So that will also be useful information, though we would just share, but you would also be welcome to just look around people around you and just also search on your site to see which area would be best for you. Okay, do we have any more questions? No questions in the chat box. Let me see if there are any hands raised. Do we have any more questions? We have about 10 minutes. Tembani, where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm calling from Ashesi, Ghana.
Okay, great. Do you have any question for us today?
Not yet, no. I'm okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I have Tinashe Kanukai requesting to join. Earlier on, his network was not working well, so let me see if I can find, if none of us has any questions, I could ask him one of the questions to share. Hi, Tinashe, thank you for joining.
Hi, Betty, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. All right, so we actually have about 9 minutes until the meeting ends. So I have a question, or maybe does anyone among us have a question that they would want to ask is the CC alumni? Anything that you'd want to know from their experience? Okay, Tinashe.
Betty, sorry, before
yes.
Tinashe, I'm just gonna say there was one question in the chat, and I think I could address it really quickly. The question was, if your plan is to go to graduate school and particularly like to do scientific research after college, is ZCC relevant to you, or is it just relevant for people who are trying to get like engineering or corporate jobs? So I just wanted to underscore that one thing that's going to get you into grad school, if you're applying for grad school straight after, and you have no relevant work experience, it's going to be really difficult for you to get into graduate school these days. graduate schools want usually 1 to 2 years of work experience, and the only way you can substitute that is to have really good internships. And a lot of people have said that what was interesting in their that they could actually write about in their grad school application was their ZCC experience, because their other internships were kind of ordinary, that like lots of people had them at school, but coming back to Zimbabwe, having experience on the ground here allowed them to write about how they could, how grad school will be relevant to Africa and to home. So definitely my answer is 100%. If your plan is after college to go right on to grad school or to work for a year and then go to grad school, I think ZCC can be really pivotal in helping you. So I just wanted to add that before Tinashe. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Amai, for sharing that perspective. Thank you. All right. So earlier on, there's a question I asked Tinashe Mutasa. Tinashe is studying in the US. Okay, we also have another question here. Okay, so I'll just finish my question, Tinashe, and then you can just keep it in your mind, and then we can invite you to share. So my question was to Tinashe Mutasa was, how are you carrying your ZCC? How did you carry, for you it would be, how did you carry your ZCC experience to school, and how are you carrying it now? I know you have graduated from university now. How has it been impactful? So while you are just having that question in your mind, we'll just try to respond to this question in the chat. How do you approach assisting students for applying grants from their respective university, especially when they are at universities which have no such grants available? Okay, that's a great question. I think a lot of we would address this on a call, over a call, just to really see what other options are available. This is what we have done in the past. We have had some students not have funding from their schools available, but we have had calls just to try to map out what's the budget, where can we cut expenses, etc., and see how we can work together with the students to make sure that you get that SCC experience. So it's not a problem. All we just need is to be in communication as we map up this possibility of you coming back to do your SCC internship.
Yeah, and I can just add to that for those of you who are at Ashesi or USIU, especially Ashesi will pay the $200 admin fee that covers all the costs of the internship. They will, once we decide how many Ashesi students we are accepting, because remember it is an application process, then they will literally directly pay to us for all the Ashesi students. So I know that if you're thinking about the fee to cover the cost of ZCC, that's been covered by them in the past. For those in the US and Ashoka, no, not directly from your university as an automatic, but we have had universities, lots of them, when students have gone to make the case that I want to do this unpaid internship, and this is why, there's a lot of universities that have helped them to find funding on how to do it.
Okay, thank you, Amai, for sharing. Okay, so I'll just quickly check if we have any questions, any more questions. And maybe Tinashe, would you like to maybe share on the question?
Okay, Betty. Okay, Betty, thank you. It's unfortunate that I had network problems at the beginning of the meeting. So now I will share about how the internship has been impactful. Actually, I was in class of 2023 ZCC, that was the last year group. So this internship actually changed my course of study, and it changed like my area of interest, because before going to the internship, I was interested in semiconductor industry. So I was looking for opportunities for the semiconductor industry. And when I was going for internship in building industry, I was really not interested in it. And I remember one time I sent you an email requesting that if it's possible, you change me to another organization. But at last, I joined that company, that was ECE. So I had an opportunity to go for breakfast with one of the senior engineers in the company. We really had a good time. We discussed future. We discussed about the future. We also discussed things about grad school. We also discussed about growing your career in the built environment. That's when I started to see some great opportunities within that built industry. And that's when my mind changed, and that's when I decided to pursue career in built environment, and also focusing on energy and power. So even when I went back to school, I started to take electives that were relevant to energy and power and also to built environment. So what I would want to say is like when you're going for internship, it's good to go there with an explorative mind to try to go there and understand and learn what the world needs. Because you're going to people who have like 30 years of experience, people who are currently in the industry, people who really know what's going on out there, and they can give you the greatest advice of all. Even when it comes to things like grad school, they also had to advise that for grad school, you also need to it would be advisable to have some relevant work experience because you need to understand why are you doing a certain master's program, why are you doing a certain PhD, what is it going to help you? Are you going to finish? Then you start wondering, what should I do with this master's program? Maybe you have a master's in renewable energy, but you don't really understand what are you going to use it. So when you go for an internship, it is a time for you to ask a lot of questions to the supervisor, to the senior engineers. Ask them what things they wish they could have done better, what things they think that they are proud of and they've done better, and ask them about their perspective of where the industry is going. They have been in the industry for 30 years. They've seen a lot of changes, so they know where the industry is going. So to conclude, I would like also to say that so from the internship during that, with my interest in built environment, I managed later on now to secure a position with the Africa Leadership Academy, working in the architecture, construction, and town planning community of practice as a lead. So this all comes from my internship, and I think that was the thing that I highlighted in my application, even in my interview. That was the thing that I highlighted that, what I intend as an electrical engineering in building services, so I have relevant experience in architecture, construction, and town planning, which I see was very impactful in my career. So I'd like to advise everyone who is going to an internship that it's a time to explore, and it doesn't mean that's where you're going to be working your whole life. So sometimes it might look like you're not really interested into another field, but sometimes I believe we have never had an opportunity to explore the opportunities that is within that field and where it can take you in life. So it's always good for internship to explore rather than to go with a fixed mind that I want this, and if this does not come, then I'm not going. I think that will not help you when it comes to career growth and when it also comes to exploring other fields. Thank you, Betty.
Okay, thank you so much, Tinashe. So without wasting anyone's time, I would like to thank you all for joining us for this session. Thank you so much for all those insightful questions.